This is a big change year, people. Following on from the Men's Rugby World Cup is usually where we see these game-changing law variations introduced by World Rugby. And while they announced their intentions about a week or so ago now, it's really given me time to think about some of the consequences we may see come into play, both intended and unintended. In trials, these changes have reportedly increased ball in play time, less stoppages, more competitive restarts, quicker mauls, less line-out penalties, quicker set pieces, and kicks at goal. Everything is quick. But one question I want you to really think about as this video goes on is, should these law variations be for all levels of rugby? I'm talking 5th graders, Saturday morning, 10 AM, right up to the elite level. Or should it just be for the professionals and what we see on the television? Because right now, that's the question that's got the rugby community a little bit divided. Okay, let's break down these changes, because it gets pretty interesting. Firstly, reduced conversion time. Look, it's now consistent with penalties. It'll shave off a few seconds each game. No one really needs longer than a minute to take a kick at goal. No matter how much I try to convince people 30 seconds is a long time, it really isn't. And this is where I worry we might see some inconsistent refereeing below the elite level, and that is 30-second scrum and line-out limits. For example, I can't see too many 3rd, 4th, 5th grade props jogging to a scrum 50 metres away. In fact, they're usually lying on the ground for at least 30 seconds. Which is why they've put that little disclaimer in, managed by the referee, to factor in for common sense. But at a professional level, I think props are going to have to get a little bit fitter. Those 130 kilogram plus guys may need to shave down just a little. Will teams probably have to substitute the big boys earlier? Yeah, definitely. In fact, I think you'd have to be built pretty different to play 70 to 80 minutes with this change. Although, keep in mind, there's no way referees are going to force players to pack into a scrum or penalise them if they're injured for not making it within the time limit. Because that would just be a huge lawsuit waiting to happen, but I think it will make referees a little bit more aware of the clock. We might see scrums and lineouts not be packed straight away, but we won't lose a lot of time off the clock, if that makes sense. One change that I absolutely love, but can look super weird, is marking inside the 22 metres from a restart. The data for this one looks insane. 45% increase in contestable kickoffs. Teams were retrieving the ball in attacking position way more often. For 20 years now, we've been watching kickoffs go deep and get booted straight into touch, leading in a midfield line out. It's such a recycled part of the game at the moment. I can remember watching Super Rugby as a kid. Teams would kick deep and Brian Habana would just boot the ball straight into touch. And that's never really left the game since. And why I love this change so much is because not only are teams kicking shorter and they're more contestable, but the defending team can't kick the ball straight into touch. So the game just naturally flows a lot better. The big downside though, because you knew there was going to be one, it does look incredibly weird when that kickoff lands inside the 22 metre zone and a mark is taken. It's almost like another restart from the restart. And that leads me on to the next one, single stop mauls. Seriously, whoever's making these calls at World Rugby deserves a lot of love at the moment. These are some of the best proposed changes in my opinion, and what I like about this one is when mauls start up for the 2nd or 3rd time, usually they're only making an extra 2 or 3 metres before the ball comes out, but it makes the entire backline play so clunky off the back of it because they just can't predict when the ball's coming out. With single stop mauls, I think we see a little bit more value and flair given to set plays from a backline. Again though, will countries with lethal attacking mauls at the moment vote for this? Absolutely not, but is it better for the game long term? I think so. This next one feels like a change that's actually been driven from the community level up, and that's playing on not straight throws if the lineout's uncontested. It just makes sense, doesn't it? Just to clarify, this doesn't mean you can throw the ball straight into the halfback or back line if it's uncontested. It still has to be thrown down the line-out channel. Think about it, with teams needing to contest the line-out, not only does it mean the line-outs become more competitive, but it also stops this semi-bullshit stuff we're seeing at the moment where teams are just focusing on shutting down the maul or the backline play that's coming off it. It'll force teams to commit their forwards into the line-out area for a longer period of time, and hopefully we see more trick shots coming from the line-out or a bit more space for the backs. Does it devalue the hooker position if they don't have to throw straight? In a sense, but you could also argue it means they have to be more accurate when throwing under pressure. And the final one's protection of the scrum half. This one's a little bit vague on what World Rugby released, but I'm fairly confident it's just more protection for the scrum half to clear the ball more freely. If he picks it up and runs, sure, nail him, otherwise, let him get the ball out. Although I'm sure we'll still see the dopey wingers joining breakdowns and absolutely smoking the opposition scrum half. Should these be for all, or just the professionals? Let me know.